Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters of the Week video. As always, I just do these randomly when I'm no longer doing my Cryptids and Monsters regular set of videos. That way I can try to mix these in every now and then and make sure that I can still discover brand new creatures that are out there in this world. This one has to do with a fascinating creature, a dragon-like sea monster that by far has one of the most interesting physical attributes associated with it. You know that more here in a minute, but this is definitely a first when it comes to the type of body that this creature has. Absolutely otherworldly. But it has to do with this. You're looking at a representation of it now. Has a pretty unique name too. It's known as the Rai Yuk. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Rai Yuk. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating info associated with this very, very bizarre looking creature. So here's essentially what it is. You first have to find it off somewhere around Alaska, specifically on the coastlines of Alaska. This is because it is a water creature and it apparently dwells in the water, but comes out every now and then to not only hunt some of the local animals there, but also people. This is what makes it very, very dangerous too. Not only that, but it also has an appetite for eating fish as well. Somewhere along the way, though, it apparently encountered the taste of human flesh, and then that's what it's been doing ever since then, just creating a local set of terror on its own. But yes, those physical attributes I was mentioning earlier, there's this. First, it's considered more of a serpent-like creature. So here's something that is, again, long and slender, thin-like, and then it may have even more attributes like on the head involving that of a dragon or another characteristics of a sea monster. But it's also a mishmash of other things. For example, it has 3 pairs of legs, if you could believe that. 3 pairs of legs that come out in the form of a shape of a paw. It also apparently has 2 heads. So not only does it have 1 head, but also a dual head as well. I don't know if these are considered more on the lines of twins, but it may have something else with regards to that. I've even seen some animals out there in this world where they grow what looks like an extra head, but instead it's a decoy head, it's a fake head. And then that way it's almost like creating an illusion of a target to use for its own safety, and then that way whatever is attacking it will be attacking the wrong side. So maybe this is a creature that does the same. It has twin tails. It also has very, very short horns. Again, keeping it more on the lines of a dragon-like creature. Here's though the most interesting part of it, where normally that long, slender body would just be one straight line. In this case, it's actually almost like 3 bubbles, if you could even call it that, 3 circular forms that come and jut across the rest of its body, particularly towards the center, but going upwards and downwards near the head and then also near the tail. These are actually stomachs, if you could believe that. 3 separate stomachs that this creature has, and that's why it creates that bulbous-like look when it comes to its body, because when it eats, it apparently gets itself full on one stomach, then it eats and gets itself full on the other stomach, and then one final stomach to make itself bulging, and then that's it. You could totally imagine that this is a creature, considering it has 3 stomachs, that it has to be constantly feeding in order to make sure that it stays satisfied, and it doesn't have that constant hunger associated with it. Or who knows, maybe it's cursed to always be hungry and never being able to satisfy any one of those complete stomachs. So who knows if maybe that's the case too. Maybe that's what is considered more on the lines of a voracious hunter as well. But yes, that's by far the most fascinating thing as far as the description of this creature. I have yet to talk about one of those creatures in any of my cryptids that again has this type of anomaly as far as 3 stomachs. On top of that, it has a very, very long tongue. It has thick fur. No doubt it has to have that because of the cold Alaskan weather, let alone out there in the waters as well. And then finally, it has a ridge, like a serrated, almost Godzilla-like ridge that runs across the rest of its back, ending with some dorsal fins, again giving it a pretty monstrous appearance. The idea that also it's considered a sea monster gives you the illusion that this is something that is really large as well. In fact, it's so large that let's talk about its hunting habits. There's this. Apparently, this is just the first, I guess, third of its body. It's about 7 or 8 feet long. So that gives you an idea that the rest of it is going to be about 20 plus feet long in total length. That's pretty big. Imagine running something into like this out there in the Alaskan cold, especially in the waters. You are pretty much in a dangerous area at that point. But it likes to use at least that front third of its body, about 7 or 8 feet, to jut itself out of the water and then use its mass and use its momentum to come crashing down on anything that's near it. That's essentially how it hunts, especially when it comes to people. If it sees the telltale sign of kayaks, for example, from some of the natives there out there in the water, maybe it's down in the deep part of the water looking upwards. Obviously, a kayak would be pretty easy to discern whenever it comes to the clear waters, at least from their perspective. That's when this creature just suddenly comes up and then crashes upwards, almost like you've seen like those submarines whenever they come out of the waters for the first time. You see them just jump up straight into the air and then crash land down. That gives me the idea that that's what this thing does. Of course, the whole point of that is to essentially make the kayak just completely just turn upside down, or in some cases probably get destroyed. And then that's when it's a feast, an easy feast for this Rai Yuk. All it has to do is just essentially wait for the people to get tired out when it comes to swimming in the cold water, which is going to be really quick because they're going to be numb as soon as possible, or it may just even just start eating people right then and there. It uses its very long tongue to grab onto those people, and then the rest is history. Otherwise, though, it apparently is known to just eat fish, and again, some of the local wildlife that's out there, maybe that happens to strut nearby some of the landmarks, some of the watermarks near the land, and so when that happens, it is probably just waiting on the wayside, and then it'll be able to catch up to them. But yeah, isn't that interesting as far as its physical description? 3 stomachs, very large, a long, slender body, and then it has that thick fur with those horns, and then also apparently the 2 heads as well. All of that culminates into a very unique creature, something that has been seen not only those bay areas, but out there in the wilderness, if you call it that, of the ocean. So out there in the deep parts of the ocean, that's where this Rai Yuk has apparently been seen and has created its own local legends because of how much people have seen it out there. But that's pretty much it. That's all the information associated with this very, very unique Alaskan sea monster or serpent-like creature. Definitely one of the neatest ones that I've come across yet. But if anybody has any more info, maybe on a local level when it comes to this creature, then please post those comments below. The fact that it's associated with so many legends gives me the idea that it's been around for a long time too. So if anyone has maybe any uncles or anybody else, like aunts, grandpas, grandparents, somebody else that had that generational set of tales passed down along the line about the Rai Yuk, it'd be really, really great to hear too. So, all right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.